just for your information, if you ever need to do it, when you make a copy of a Visual Studio project, whether it be C# or whatever. So I'll just show you how it is done. It's not a big deal. For example, this is the lesson we were doing last week, coffee sales lesson 3. So you just don't open it and say save as. It will not work. It just doesn't work that way. To make a copy of a project, you take that project, put it somewhere else, wherever you want it, rename it, and if you have to bring it back to the same folder, right? And then you have an option of changing names inside it also. That is a little more time consuming, and I'll show you that also if you like. It's not required, but I'll show you what it is, right? So I've made a copy so that I don't disturb my previous project. That's me. You can keep working on the same project, really doesn't matter. So solution file. So you will recognize this project because we did it last week. So today's agenda, as last week some students were asking me, Devang was, and I don't see Devang today. What if we want multi-forms, right? We are only doing a project. Till now we've been doing projects. It only had one form in it. It was a single form project. But today I'll teach you how to work, because that's quite natural. You won't only work with a single form in big applications. So we'll do that, okay? So this is what we were working on last week. So I've set up everything. It will again go on GitHub. Now, if you wanted to change their names and everything, you'll have to change them from here. You don't change them like you do in Windows Explorer. You don't do that. If you need to change names of your solutions, of your project, you need to change them here, right here. So you kind of go here and you have to you can rename them from here. And once you rename them, you also have to then make change in the properties, because notice, I'll show you the properties of your project. If you look at the properties of your project, not of the solution, sorry, of your project. See all these names that we've given it, they all come here. See here, it's all here, assembly, in the assembly here, the default namespace. So if you start changing names here, then please be careful that you also change them here. You just can't change it at one place and say, oh, I have renamed it. Anytime you rename it in this window, in your Solution Explorer window, you will have to come and change it here also. It's a must, otherwise it just doesn't work, because it's kind of referring to another assembly name. Okay, so remember we talked about assembly last week. You can share variables that are in the same assembly by using the qualifier. What was the qualifier? One was public, private, protected. What was it called? Oh God, I forget myself. What was the qualifier name we did last week? Anybody remember off their head? Sorry, come again.
Can you show me one more time how to change them?
Just a minute. We did it last week, didn't? Oh no, you'll do it today. Okay, that's why. Okay, not with you section. Sorry. How do you rename it? You mean here in this? Oh, in the properties. So you go to properties and change it here in the default namespace and in the assembly name. So if you've made a change there, make a change here, whatever you need to call it. You are in the solution properties. I'm in the project properties. I'm in the project properties. Here, see, this is the solution and this is the project. So I'm in the project properties. I haven't tried this one, but we can see if there is anything here.
Project, then properties, right?
Yeah. There are configuration properties here. I'm sure things need to be changed here too.
Same thing happen one more time. Solution properties, page opens.
Okay, so do this one. Take your project and open this properties. Project properties. Right, or do a right click, see if, does it open the same one? I don't think so. No, it opens this one. There are two different windows for the two, right? So if you need to make a change there, I won't do it right now. I really won't, because it messes up so many things. Then if you change it here, then you have to change the namespace everywhere. I'm not going to practice it in class, but that's how you do it. Okay, so you can take your own good time to practice that if you want. So I'm not going to do it right away. All I did was, to me, it doesn't matter a lot, but maybe to you it does. And sometimes you need to change your project names out of the blue for whatever reason. So there is a way of changing it, but never do it in the Windows Explorer. Sorry, never do it in the Windows Explorer. Never here. It doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work like in, it's just the IDE. It's so complex. The IDE is so complex and there are so many files associated that you should do everything inside the IDE. That's what is recommended. Highly recommended in .NET environment. and I'll stick to it. Okay, so I made a copy of it. And then I just kind of opened it here, right? And so this is what you did last week. So today's aim, as I said, I have a few forms here, so I'll create the forms for you and I'll kind of keep them the same like the other section, though it really doesn't matter. As long as you know how forms are created and how then you link them, then we'll go ahead and then link them to my project. Okay, so let's start with the easy ones first. Not that it's a big deal, but with the easy ones. Now, usually you know, and you've seen also that while a project is being loaded, and if the project you know will take time to load, you can bring a splash screen on the screen while it is loaded, just to calm down the user. Like same with you guys. If you try to search something on Google, you don't even wait a split of a second before you say, oh, that's taking quite a bit of time, right? So we all know that users will never wait. So to kind of tell them, yes, the project is loading, it will take a little time. If it is a big project, if it's a small project like what we have, it doesn't take any time to load. But if it is a big project, you'll always see that a splash screen occurs everywhere, any software that you use. So how do we create splash screens? It's called splash screen because it splashes on the screen and then goes away. Now, how do you create splash screens in Windows forms? Because there's a difference in the WFC and Windows form. So I'm doing Windows form here, right? So how do you create it and how do you manage it and how you make the splash screen stay for some seconds on the screen while you think the application will be loaded? I'll teach you how to do that, right? There is another way of doing it. You can use the old Visual Basic.net environment to do it. And I kind of found an example on MSDN site with that too. So instead of showing you both ways, I'll do it one way, right? A little different from them, but I've used the concept of timer. And then I'll put up what I found on their site on Blackboard, so that if you want to play with it or look at it, oh, this is another way of doing it. Because students were asking me, is there some other way? And I only knew the way I do it. So I went and said, let me see if there are other ways of doing it. Okay. So there are two solutions. I'm doing one using a timer and doing it. So I'll time it. I'll say, oh, I think my application will take 5 seconds to load. Till then I'll show the splash screen. The other way automatically does what you could, that's what happened when we used Visual Basic a few years back. In Visual Basic, you can show the splash screen, and when your project is ready to launch, the splash screen goes away itself, which is much more like logical, right? That's what it should be. Like I shouldn't decide as a programmer, but again, they say, don't you know how much time it will take your application to load? No, it depends upon the computer on which it is loading, right? But that's what I'll do today, the timer one. But I will put up, I have found examples, a couple of examples, and I'll show them to you. If time permits, I'll show them to you how you can do it in 2 ways. So let's first create a splash screen. A splash screen is simply a form. It's just a form. You have to use forms, nothing else. You just make it look like a splash screen. So you remove the borders and you remove the maximize, minimize buttons and so on. You can put an image on it if you like. You can put a progress bar on it if you like. Whatever, to make it kind of say, okay, cool down, your application is loading. And it happens everywhere. Do you notice when you open anything, like even something like Word, for example? That's an example of a splash screen. The blue thing, while it's loading in the background, that's an example of a splash screen. So all programs use it, right? All programs use splash screens. Okay, so let's create a splash screen. Now, there is no default template for a splash screen in C#. There used to be in Visual Basic, if you've done it before, or just for your information, but there is no template for it. A template simply means a form that looks like a splash screen. So what you simply do is you create your own, and then you make it appear before the project main form, and then you make it appear for a certain time, and then you shift to the main form. So that's the procedure I'm showing you. Okay, this is one way of doing it. There are a couple, as I told you. Okay, so what you do is, it's just a normal form. What we did last week, it was working, everything was fine. Go to project and say add Windows form. So what you're doing is you're adding a new window form to your project. Okay. Now, if you notice here, there are a few options here. Do you want to create a class? Do you want to create an interface? Do you want to create and so on and so forth? I want to create a Windows form. That's what I want to create, right? Now, again, keeping with our notation of naming, I'm going FRM and I'll call it splash screen. Right, so you can call it whatever you like. I'm calling it splash screen, and the FRM is just the 3-letter abbreviation I'm using. No, project, add Windows form, right? Okay, so I'm not going to new, I'm going to project. You're inside the project and you want to add a form to the project. It's not under file, it's under project. So I'm creating a new Windows form. I've called it form splash screen, and the .cs was already there, and I say add. You will notice, I don't know why it's giving it to me, but thankfully it kind of ignores it. So I have no clue what it is. I didn't even bother to Google it actually. As long as it works, I'm not installing 2017 again. It's been a while. Anyway, okay. Oh, just to be sure, because somebody is, so it is being recorded. Okay. There's a student who's absent and I want to be sure I'm not making mistakes. So if somebody can keep eye on it. Okay, so what happened? A new splash screen form was created, like any other form, right? Now, usually when a splash screen occurs, it doesn't have a minimize, maximize, close button and so on. It doesn't, right? It's just a kind of a picture or something. An image is usually what it is used, but you could do anything, whatever you like. So what I'll do with this is, depending upon what you want to put an image in it, you want to put some, like anything, whatever you like. So I'll kind of give it a reasonably good size. You can add whatever you like. Now in this form, we'll do a few things first. I'll remove the control box completely. And I think if I go to form border style, remember that property, and say none. Yeah, there. So that's the easy way of removing all the buttons, the minimize, the maximize, the cross button. And I don't need a border. If you need a border, sure, then you can go fix single and then use your control box property and remove the control box. I just did this. So I have changed the form border style property to none. I don't have a border and everything goes away, right? Now, I mean, of course, it has a size. That's up to you. Again, as I said, if you like, you can, and we will. It depends on you. Usually, it's usually an image. But if you would like to have more than one, you know, components in it, you can sure. So if you like, you can have a picture box and you can kind of give it a size. And if you like, you can have a rich text box. If you would like to put some contents into it, it's entirely up to you. It's just a form. Some people will only put an image, which is good enough. Doesn't make a difference at all, right? So if you would like to put a company logo in here or any image that you like, and you would like to say something here, this application does this, or welcome to whatever, right? It's just a text box or just an image, whatever it is. I just put just put something in it so that we know. So if I go here and I just say, what did we create? RNR and reading. That's what we were doing. And again, you can make it as pretty as you want. Remember, this is a rich text box, right? You can say, please wait while the application is loaded. It depends on you. And again, if the size of this one is kind of, it depends what you want to do. You can adjust the size yourself. You can kind of, make it, bring it in the center. You can give it a different color, whatever you want to make it pretty. All I'm trying to show you is I have a splash screen here. If you just want an image, even that will do. Now, how do I make this splash screen appear and then go away? Because I have to make it go away so that then my form can come, right? Okay, so let's follow these steps. If you remember, if not, it's a good reminder here. Your program.cs has the main method where your application is run. Remember this last time, which says application run my coffee shop form. And that's what happens when you run your application. This is what happens. The program.cs is invoked. Inside there is a method called main, and that method is invoked. Now what I'll do is before I run the application, I'll create an object of my splash screen. You can call it SS if you like. Whatever you want to call it. You'll say, oh, where is this class? How are you creating an object? Remember, as soon as you create a form, with the form always comes code. There it is, right? The default code. And there is always a constructor inside it. And that constructor is calling the initialize component method. And this initialize component method is where? It's in your designer file, right? It's here. So you know where things are moving. Please keep in mind, you should know where things are. So that's what happens. A form is created. The form automatically has code associated with it. It has a constructor, and the constructor is calling the initialize component method. And the component method is where you did your drawing, right? Whatever is in your form is right here. So it's there. There is no magic. So what I'm going to do is in my program.cs, I'm going to create an object of that class, right? And I'm going to show it on the screen. So I'm using a show dialog method here, right? A show dialog method is a model-less window. So what happens? You don't have to respond to it, right? So it just sits there. It doesn't have any button. Like I didn't put any buttons. I'm not asking you to do anything, and okay or a close, nothing. It's just something that will come on the screen, but it won't move till you tell it to move. That is, you close it, right? So there is no button on it. It doesn't. It's not. It won't move from till the user kind of responds to it. But I don't have any button on it, so the user can't do anything with it, right? So it's called a modal dialog box. So show dialog shows a modal box, and it requires the user to interact with it to close or something. But since there's nothing on mine, I'll have to think of some other way. So now what will happen is when I run my code, what do you expect? The splash screen should come up on the screen. Oh, I forgot to change its position to center screen. Right? But it will just sit there because I just say show dialog and I have to respond to it. But what do? I can't do anything on it. There's no OK button. There is no close button. So it's waiting for response from the user. The user cannot respond to it. So it just sits there forever. So now I'll have to write code to make it disappear, to close that form. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a timer. So I'll create a timer object. I'll set it for some time, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, depending upon how big your application is, and you're assuming it will take that many seconds. Then I'll show it on the screen, and after 5 or 10 seconds, then it will close on its own. That's what I'll do. Okay. But this is what is happening. That's exactly what I've written. It's waiting for my response. I cannot respond to it. There is no button on it. I can't do nothing with it. So it just sits there. Okay. So now since you've seen it, now you'll say, how will you close the application? Remember this small red box? You can click on it and it stops. So a few things that we forgot, which we should always do by default, is do the usual, make it center screen when it comes up, give it a text, give it a name. The name was already given, but it was very untidy since it came on the site. So it's the start position. What is that property called? Windows start position, I think it's called. Start position. Why don't I see it? Oh, because I'm not on it. That's why I don't see it. There it is, start position. We'll say center screen. There is no parent yet. We'll say center screen. So now it will come in the center. I've already not given it a border. There is no border, so I can't resize it or anything. There is no button, so I can't respond to it. Now, what do I do? This is what you will do to make it disappear after some seconds. Take a timer object. You will notice that there is a timer object under, can't remember where, so I'll go to all Windows forms. It's definitely in the all Windows form. Components, okay. And look for a timer. Yeah, it should be in components because it comes in the component tray. Thank you, right? That's another way of kind of seeing where it is, right? So I've got a timer now. What is a timer? As the name suggests, a timer means something that will allow you to count time, right? Keep track of time. So count the seconds. So if you click on your timer here, notice it has some properties. It's called timer 1. I'm fine with it. I'm not going to program it a lot. So a lot means I just have to set its time. Enabled is false. I'll enable it first. Otherwise, it's useless. So I'll say, okay, you are enabled now. So it will work, right? It has an interval of 100 microseconds. If you would like, say, 5 seconds or 1 second, that's 5 seconds. If you want it as 1 second, make it 1,000, right? So this time interval is in microseconds. Keep that in mind. It's not seconds, it's microseconds. And then the modifiers and all that doesn't matter to us. It's private. That's fine. Okay, so I've created a timer now. Now the event that I would like to work with this timer is, so you'll say, what are the events that come with the timer? You can always see them here. See, you don't have to ever kind of ask anybody at all. Here are the events that are associated with the timer. And I only see one, tick. And that's what makes sense. All that a timer does is tick, right? That's all a timer does. It just ticks like a clock. So now I would like to write code in this timer. And what do I want to say? I want to say when the timer after 5 seconds, when it's completed this cycle of 5 seconds, do this. And what would I like to do? Maybe close the form, right? Maybe close the form. So you can kind of double click here if you want, or you can double click on your timer, whatever works for you. It will automatically come in your splash screen class because you've associated with that form. Put it in the right form. Don't put it in your form coffee shop, okay? And now what do you want to do here? This event is called, the tick event is invoked after 5 seconds. Why 5 seconds? Because you've set the timer to 5 seconds. That's what it does. Okay. Now, there are two things you must do. One, though it doesn't matter because I'll close the form, it really doesn't matter. But since you had enabled it there, you should be. So we are basically going to take the timer and set its, what was its property? Enabled property to false. If I do that, okay. And then the only thing that let me see if this will work. I'm thinking, do I need to do it? If I close the form, for me, it's kind of done and finished. But if I don't make it false, it will, this event handler is still being invoked after every 5 seconds, which I don't want to, right? Though the form is closed now, it will still keep doing it because by magic, it won't stop. It is enabled, so it will. Now what will happen after 5 seconds is this should close. The form should go away. When it goes away, what should come? What's the next line? The form main, and the form will come. Let's try it. So you're assuming that your application will take 5 seconds. Seems like that enabled is, no, that's fine. So it was not necessary to disable it, but logically you should disable it because otherwise this event is being called even after every 5 seconds. You will say, but the form is closed. That doesn't mean that the event will not be invoked. The closing of the form just closes it. The application is still running. I haven't closed my application. I haven't said application.exit. I've only closed the form. So the form is closed, but the timer is active. So after every 5 seconds, the tick, that event handler will be called. And every time it will say this dot close, this, which will not make sense because the form is already closed. So remember to disable the timer and then close the form. So this is what has happened. Now, the only unnatural thing about this splash screen is that you as a programmer are deciding for how long do I need the splash screen to be on screen. A better and the best solution would be the splash screen comes up and it gauges that now the application is ready to load or is ready now, and it should close. Not with the timer. Like that's something that should happen by its own, right? And the timer is something that I'm kind of taking care of. It will stop after 5 seconds. So what I did was, and it is a very valid kind of thinking process that a particular student had in the other class. So I kind of went looking around it to see, does it happen on its own? I know you can do it in Visual Basic because when I taught Visual Basic, I used it. I know they had a template. You did a splash screen. You didn't have to do anything at all. It would just work. But still nowhere in black and white, I have kind of come across this, that it says that it will automatically close when the main form is loaded. Maybe even in that environment, it is closing after a certain amount of time. There is a timer inbuilt in it. But I found an example of 2 ways of doing it without using the timer. And what I've done is I will put it on Blackboard for you guys, but I kind of, and it's on the MSDN website. I mean, I went looking for it and reading and so on. I took a couple of hours to kind of see if I could get something. But at the end of the day, all I got was this, right? And I'll show you what this is. So it's just called what it is, right? So it's coming from the MSDN site. And they've given 2 solutions. And I'll show you what they have done. I'll put it on Blackboard and you can test both solutions. Of course, I've tested it and seen how it works. So they've used a timer in one, like I've done, except their timer, they've kind of gone a little prettier. In the prettier, I mean this is what they have done. So with the timer, they've also set the image kind of fades in. Oh no, this is my solution 2. Okay, this is solution 2. But one, they've used the timer like I have done, but just a little more fancier. The image kind of fades in slowly and then fades out slowly. Like they've just used different methods to do it, using the opacity and so on, which can be done, which is not what I'm kind of so important for me. But the other way that you can do is using your, so I'll give this to you. Like I was testing both methods. The other way they've done is they've used Microsoft Visual Basic namespace. And of course, it's been included here. And they've used the application services class of it. And in that, you don't have to really do anything at all. You just run your framework and you say and you override 2 methods on create splash screen and on create form. It's just a process. That's what you have to do. The splash screen comes up and then and then automatically the main form comes up. But I'm thinking, I didn't have time to go into it, but I'll have to go and see what this on create splash screen method actually does. Does it also use a timer behind the scenes to kind of show it for a certain time and go away? I'm not so sure. But this is another solution. So you don't have to do anything, but you have to use the Visual Basic framework because it was available in Visual Basic, right? So it's here. The only thing that this project will run, but when you try to do it, it may not run. All you have to do is please be careful that in references, you should have that particular Microsoft.Visual Basic included in references also, not only the using statement, but also this. And you'll say, how will I get it if I don't have it? All you do is right click and you say add a reference. And when you add a reference, the list will come up and you choose the one. So notice how Microsoft Visual Basic is already checked here. So you need to check this. They've already done it for this example, but if you would like to do it in your own example, in your own project, remember that you have this reference. Otherwise, your using statement will create problems. It will say, I don't know what are you using. I don't know what it is. So it's kind of using a different framework here. It's just using the Visual Basic application services, and it can be done. Then all you have to do is you have to override two methods, and it's all here. The two methods are right here. It's not a big deal at all. All you do is write these two lines inside it. But as I said, today I didn't get time. I was working on this. I was trying things out and looking everywhere, but I kind of settled with this. This seemed to be the most clean solutions that I got on the net. You know, there's so many solutions. You can go to Stack Overflow if you like. There's so many websites you can go to. And people ask and people tell, and you don't understand what's going on. So I kind of picked up this solution and I'll put it on Blackboard for you. Of course, you can go and Google and you'll find them. It's no big deal. Okay. So they have also used a timer. In one of the solutions, they have used a timer, and the other one, they've used the Visual Basic. So that seems, that's all I could find. I couldn't find something in Windows Forms. I'm only talking Windows Forms. In WPF, there was a solution. In Windows Form, you have to set a timer, and it's kind of like, you're kind of saying, oh, this is, I'm assuming it will take 5 seconds for my application to load. Right? So that's how you set it up. So I'll put this on Blackboard for you guys. But again, you can play with it. It will tell you I've made some changes. So I'll try to kind of put it back where it was. And I can't remember. I think this one was, this is what they had. And I was just trying to kind of work with to see how things were here. See, let's run this one, I think. So the using the timer, this is what they have. See, it's kind of fading and then becoming clean, and then it will fade out, and then the application. So just making it pretty, nothing else, right? So the fading in is not it's just using some other properties. It's called opacity, that's all. Okay, so, but again, they're using a timer. So I didn't make it pretty, but I'm also using a timer. And the other solution, I'll have to read into, say, to kind of find out, I'll have to go to this on create splash screen methods and see actually what do they do, like what does it mean, what are they doing behind the scenes. Overriding is no big deal, but otherwise I'll have to read about it. But there it is. Okay, so it's not as if what we are doing is wrong. That's a valid solution. Using a timer is a valid solution. As I said, not very true to what it should be, but that's what it is. Okay, so now see, it works. So all I did was, so these are the steps I followed. I created a form. You could just put any image on it, whatever you like on it. I went to the main method because there is where my execution starts. I created an object of it and I used the show dialog method, not the show method. A show method and a show dialog method are different. Show says it will show it on the screen, but the user doesn't have to respond to it. So you can kind of do, like, another form may just come up. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to respond to the particular dialog box. And show dialog says you have to respond to it. But since there is nothing to respond to, it just sits there. And then I created, for that particular form, I created a timer on it. And I did set some of its properties, which are really simple. If you kind of look at it, I enabled it and I said, set the timer for 5 seconds. And then I wrote the tick event handler, the timer tick event handler. And in the event handler, I said, close my form. I also made a point to disable my timer, because behind the scenes, since till the application is running, this will be called. It will be, right? I've checked it. It does. It kind of, it doesn't give a sound or anything, but you can feel it. I mean, the screen clicks or something, like it does. I know that. Then I read about it. So I have to disable. I should be disabling it. It doesn't affect anything, but I should be disabling it. Okay, so I've disabled. That's how you show a splash screen. That's as simple as that. Not very true, but that's how you show it. Okay. 2, if you would like to create a help kind of a box, or something like about us or anything, a simple thing, you do the same process, but I'm just showing you it a different way so that you are aware of it. If you go to add Windows form, you will notice that there is an about box, Visual C# item. It's called an about box. They've called it about box. You can leave it as about box, but again, since we are following conventions and we would like to stick to it, I'm going to call it form about box. I'll tell you why it is called a box. You can remove the box if you like, but it's a template I'm using. Okay, so I don't have to do anything with it. It's just there. Why would you do it? Because it gives you the option of, it's already kind of made for you. So it has a picture box. They're just normal things. It's a picture box. Notice here in the properties, there are labels. These are labels. There is a text box. And you can put the description here and whatever you want. There is an OK button already written for you already. So you don't have to kind of do much about it, except that, of course, I don't want its text property. I don't want its text property to say form about box. You can say something like about us or about the application or information, whatever you like. Now, if I was creating a help screen or something, then I wouldn't go with an about box. So this is about the company. All your websites have an about us box, right? About us tag. That's something that this is relating to, right? So just change it to information or whatever, or about us, whatever you would like to call it. So I've used a template. It's easy to use. There's no big thing. Definitely you don't want to see this image. Go to its image property, and you can change that image property from here and replace it by anything you want. Like this is a local resource they have used. I would kind of put it in my resource file so that I can have it. And it will be a logo of your company or whatever, right? I'm not changing it. But the other advantage of using one, of course, is this, that things are already there and all of them are making sense. Usually on an about box, it's called a box because it looks like a box. Okay. You have a product name, you have a version, you have a copyright, you have a company name and a short description of your company or maybe the application. That's what you usually put in about us. So it kind of works. You don't have to create a form and then put these things on it. So since the template is there and it works for us, why not? Right? And the other thing is that these informations, product name, version, copyright, and company name, can be automatically filled in by doing this. So if you go to project and if you go to the properties of your project and go to assembly information, this box comes up. All that you fill in here, oh, you don't even need that information now that I remember. You can put the title here. All that you fill in here will automatically be passed on there. You'll say, what is automatic about it? No magic again. I'll show you where it puts those properties. Okay, so the title is R and R for reading and refreshment. I'm just doing it, okay? So you don't have to put that information now, I remember. This is the title that will go there. Right, and then description, what would you like to say? What was your application doing? You can, I forget what it was last week. I am just copying the purpose here, okay? I have that printout from last week here, October. This application allows the user to select. Okay, so you can say, remember it was different coffee types, or various coffees, let's not say different. Or just say, allows the user to select, allows the user to making it more grammatically correct, okay? To make coffee selections. And what was it? So we chose coffee from here and we in various quantities. In different quantities. That's the description. The company name, of course, the company that you're working for or whatever. I'm just kind of making up my own, okay? I'm just filling this here so that I can show you what happens in the about box, okay? And then product. Did we have a name on that? I'm calling it coffee selection, and then assembly, you can leave it. File versions, you can change if you like. The other is not so important, right? So whatever you fill in here will be automatically passed on to your about box. There is that connection. And when you run it, and when you show that about box, it will pick up that information from here. So that's its second advantage, right? You're putting in information about your assembly here and it's picked up there. It won't right now when I run it, but I'll do an OK here. I'll save this information and now you can close it if you like. So it will appear here, not right now. But where are these changes taking? Again, no big deal. If you open your view and go to the code, remember every form has code underlining it, right? There is the code and there is your initialize component, and it is saying, oh, this is all I'm coming from. And notice what it is saying. In the text property, you're putting assembly title. Remember there was an assembly title. In the product name, you're putting the assembly product. In the version, you are picking up the version. In the copyright, you are picking up the assembly copyright. So there's no magic here. Whatever you put there will be shown when you run the about form. So there's the connection. Okay. So since it is a template already available, one already has pictures and so on that you usually put on an about form or an about box. And since this link is made to your assembly, you don't bother to kind of create your own form. But that doesn't mean you cannot. You can create your own about form and show it whenever and wherever you like. Okay. So that's my second about form. So again, right now they're in no way linked to the data of my form yet. Nothing yet. They're just normal forms. So they have shown you the splash screen. I can't show you the about right now till I change the design. I have to show it somewhere. Okay. So let's now come back to your original form that you were working on last week. You know what? There's so many open that there it is. Oh, design. Okay. Now there is no about button here. So I have to put something so that I can show you that the about form works. How will you make it work? The first thing I'm going to show you today is how to create menus on your form, right? You're aware of menus. You're aware of all these are called menus, right? Also, if you haven't, I'm sure you have many times, you can always right click somewhere and this small menu can also come up. This is called the context menu, okay, for your information. And this is just called a menu. So I'm going to show you how to create both today on a form. So we'll learn some new features on the form. How do you create a context menu? Again, please pick up a context menu component. And again, it should be in your component again, and it will be here also. So there is a context menu strip here. Notice there is this called context menu strip. Pick one of these up. It will come in your component tray. And pick up another one called menu strip item. There it is, there, menu strip. So I'll need both of them. So to create a context menu, you can create a context menu with all the controls on a form, whatever you want. I'm only creating it for the form, but it's just how you create it. Then you have to link it. I'll show you how to link it. Okay, now what is a context menu strip? Click on the context menu strip. Notice how this comes up here. This is a context menu strip. It says, okay, what do you want to put in your context menu? So I'll kind of put two things here. I'll say about, and I'll use A as my shorthand key. And I'll type exit. I'll use X as my shorthand key. Now you'll say you already used X in your exit. But notice exit is a button on the form. This is a context menu. They don't happen at the same time. Context menu only comes up when you do a right click. When you do a right click and it comes up and you're choosing from there, then it doesn't clash with the X of the exit on the form. So now you can duplicate. Otherwise on a form you cannot and should not. A couple of you did that in the assignments I'm marking, but you cannot do it. You cannot have C for two buttons, C as the shorthand key for two different buttons. Logically, how can you? But if you're using a particular button like exit here, and you're using X as the shorthand key, you can use the same key on a menu item or on a context menu because they don't clash. They're not on these, they're not operative at the same time. Okay, so I've created a context menu here. Okay, my context menu is ready. I'm not putting much. I'm just putting an about and an exit. Okay, now the second step, how do you associate? So this is your context menu. If you look at it, this is what it is. If you go here, it has a name. I'm not changing the name because it doesn't matter a lot to me. And then it's a collection. If you click on the collection, the two items that you've just added will show up here. One is called about tool strip menu item. So you called that about there. You gave it a text about, it made it about tool strip menu item. This is a good thing. I don't have to worry about changing the names. And the second one is called exit. The only problem is since we are using a different naming convention, I'll have to change this name from exit tool strip menu item to TSMI for tool strip menu item. No, for context menu, it is CMI, I think. Context menu item, CMI, right? I have to change it. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have even bothered to do anything here. So now if you like, here is the name. There is one here also. Or if you like the way you've been doing it, go to about here and please change just because we are using, it says about tool strip menu item. We should then keep it to TSMI. But since it is a context menu item, I'll kind of go here, CMI. I think it's CMI for context menu item. I could be wrong. We'll go to that. The GitHub one. So TSMI is for tool strip menu item, and that's what it called it. So I'm thinking why context menu strip is CMS. Oh, it's the CMS is the name of the strip. Anything else you see in context menu item? Let's go down. Save file dialog. What about tool strip? Tool strip is TSR. Menu strip is MNS. I don't see anything, but there should be a TSMI also for tool strip menu item. Do you see a TSMI? Maybe there is where we'll find the other one also. Okay, there they are. Calendar, TS, grid view, image, menu strips, picture boxes, tool strip menu item, TSMI. Do you see anything for context strip menu item? Nope. Okay, so we'll use TSMI because that's what it was calling it to. So the CMS was for the context menu. Okay, so TSMI and A capital. Right, so just because we are using this convention, we had to change it, but otherwise you don't have to. And then here, the, oh, that's okay, I'll remove it, no worries. Sometimes mistakes are made. And in the exit one, we'll go to TSMI exit. Yeah, it has called a tool strip menu item, though it belongs to the context menu. So TSMI is tool strip menu item and call it exit. So if you want to change the name, you don't have to if you were following the regular, not the regular, a different convention by putting the name at the end. I didn't have to change it. So that's another advantage of menu items. It kind of gives it a name. Whatever you've called it, it gives it the same name. So saves us giving it names afterwards. Okay, so there are a few ways to work with it. You can come to your context menu here, which I didn't bother to change at all. I didn't bother to change its name at all, but that's what they said. They're calling it CMS and whatever, right? So I'm not bothering to change it, but you can always look at from here also. That's also showing you the properties. Here it shows you the properties of all properties that you were seeing on the right hand side are all also here. So see here, TSMI about, the change you made there is visible here. Also, you can use these arrows to move them up and down. So if I wanted to move about down and exit up, this is how I can do it here also. It's easy this way, right? You can always add something here. I find it easier to add it here because it's visual, more visual. But you can always add a new item here. So I can add something and I'll just say try, for example. So I have it here. And then again, you can, if you wanted to delete it, you could just say delete. Right? So if you add something, it gets added. If you delete something, it gets deleted. So you can work from this small window also if you like. And it's called a collection because collection means collect together. Okay, so that's your context menu item. Okay, now what do I want to do with it? Double click on your about. So here I want to show that about form. So create an object of your about box, call it about or information, whatever you would like to call it, or about us, whatever you would like to call it. Go new, form about, right? And then now show. Okay, so I'll use a show dialog for a minute so that I can tell you the difference between show and show dialog. So this is what will happen in about when you click the about of your context menu. Okay. 2, what do you want to do when I click on exit?
Is there an inherent context menu when you don't put it in? So if I like start an application without doing all this, like putting in a context menu, would anything pop up at all?
No, no. This only pops up, and I'll show you the property. This context menu strip that you've created here.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to your form, a new property gets added here, and that property is called context menu strip.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, there's nothing there. So I'm going to link it to here,
Okay.
right? So this is how you link it. So I created a context menu, but that doesn't say, oh, now it is linked now. To link it to the form, go to the form property called context menu strip and then link it. Now it is linked. Now when you do a right click, so there is no inherent one, right? There is nothing that automatically will come with a form. So which tells you that if I had more of them, context menu strip 1, 2, 3, 4, then with every control I could just attach any context menu that I want. Right? But what I've done is I'm just showing you one way. You can always do the other. So if you bring your mouse here to this text box, there will be a property called context menu strip 1 here also. Right? So it will say, what do you want to attach? Now I don't have much. I only have one. But if there was another one, I could attach it to another one. Which means what? If you right click in the text box, it will show you this context menu. If you right click on the form, it will show you the one that you have attached. So I'm just showing you one attachment. The rest, of course, I mean, it's just the same thing. Okay, so there is no restriction that you can only have one context menu strip in one project. You could have as many as you want, but you can only attach one context menu with one control. Of course, you can't attach more than one. Doesn't make sense logically. When you right click, you don't want to show 10 menus. You can only show a menu. Okay, but this is the attachment. Okay, now, so I've written about, but what about exit? What do you want to do in exit? What about this? Do you want to write a new event handler for this, or do you want to share the event handler that exit already has? You already have an exit button, and you want to perform the same function here like you did in the exit button. How will you do it? How will you make this exit share the same event as the other one? What will you do? You will go to that exit click and you will choose it. You've linked it. So choose your exit in your context menu, go to its events in the properties window, and in its click method, choose the button exit click. Now it will do the same job that the button is doing. You already have this button exit from last week. You already have written it. Right now, for some reason, I think I have some extra code. Now I must show you how to remove extra code. You're giving me code which is not required, and I'm cleaning it up, and I don't want to do that in your assignments. So anytime you have extra code, and I know I have because I did a double click on something. So if you make a mistake, and anybody can make a mistake, and you have some code here which is useless, some empty method. Oh, I think I had it in the other, in my splash screen. I had it. I think I had something here in my splash screen. It's not a big thing to remove it. No, not even here. God knows, I did double click somewhere. I can't remember. Okay, I'll make a mistake and then do it for you. So if for some reason I make a mistake, then I can always show you. Now nothing can be done. Okay, so about should work now. Okay, run your code. I'll do that. I'll make some error and then I'll show you how to rectify it. Okay, so the splash screen will come up because for 5 seconds. 5 seconds seems a long time. Now when you click anywhere, when you right click anywhere on your form, this will come up. Now this is a challenge that you can have the Alt key coming with it. I don't know how you do that. There it is. That's a challenge to bring those shorthand keys because it never comes up. You have to press the Alt and sometimes it just works and sometimes it does just a double. Now what should happen on exit? Hopefully it should exit. I won't try that first. But what should happen in about? Oh, I again forgot to put it in the center of the screen. When I click on about, maybe its default position is center screen. So this is coming from where? This was your product name. This was your title. Remember all information that I've put in my assembly. This was the version I never changed, which you could. Copyright was in the copyright one. This was the name of my company. That's what I kind of put it in, just my name. And this application allows the user to make coffee selection in various quantities. This was my description. So using the about box template allows you to kind of do it very quickly. You don't have to do much. but that doesn't mean that you can't use. Now this is, I've done a show dialog here. See, I can't go anywhere else. That's what a show dialog does. It's a modal box. You have to respond to it. And the only way I can respond to this box is a okay. And then it will go away. That's the difference between show dialog and show. You'll say, where is the difference? Let me show you the difference. Exit should exit. Okay, so if instead here I had created, it's just easy to come from the design. So instead of show, I'll use the show method now. Now see the difference. What's the difference now? So this is a non-modal dialog box now. What does non-modal mean? I don't know, they call it non-modal or I think non-modal. Okay, now let's do this. Let's do about. Okay, so now default it's not coming. Now see, I can do this. I don't have to respond to it. It will just sit there. That's a show. That's what the show method does. Show method brings up a dialog box, but it is non-modal in nature. And the show dialog brings up a modal dialog box. Modal dialog box means the user has to respond to it. So depending upon what you would like, it depends on you. If you say, oh, I just say about and I don't bother, let it sit there, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to do a show dialog. Then you will do a show. So now you know the difference. That's why I did a show dialog in my splash screen. If I did a show there, then the main form would come up and that would just sit there and you could have just gone to the main form. Your aim is the splash screen. While the splash screen is up, you can do nothing at all. You just sit and wait. So I made it a modal box. Okay, so that's the difference. And I don't know why. Why has it changed to the corner? Its default position, but we can always go and check. Okay, so OK is also not working now. So if I change its show dialog to show, I have to now write my own method for OK. Right? So I have to do a few more things if I want to. So why would I do extra work when I can do like this? But it tells you, kind of now you know, if I use show, then it doesn't come in the center of the screen and I have to write my own code for OK. So whatever needs to be done. And again, you can always go back to your about box from here. And I'm assuming, because there's never any magic with anything, there it is, start position is center parent. So center parent means which form had called it? The main form had called it. So center of the parent form. So it was coming, because that was also center screen and this is center of the center screen, it was automatically in the center. But somehow, I don't know why, but the show method is kind of overriding this center parent. It's not taking the form to be its parent. I don't know what it is taking to be its parent. It was not in the center of anything. It was just in a corner. So I'm not sure why it is behaving that way. But there has to be a reason, but it's kind of not working that way. So if you want to do a show, then be careful that you change this to center screen and your OK button will also not work. So you'll say, what do I do? You'll have to write your own code. Right now, there must be some code automatically. Definitely, there has to be. If you click on it. So it's by default, it is working, it's closing. But now if you write your show, then you'll have to write your this.close. You have to write your own code. Okay, now what did I do? I made this mistake and I want to remove it from here. It's not a mistake. I'm just telling you, I kind of double clicked on something by mistake. So I want to remove it from here. Remove it. And that's not the end of it. Why? Because when you come back here, it will give you an error. Because now you have to say, oh, what did I do? I just removed empty method. But that line of empty method was already wired to your OK button. Click. So when you double clicked on it, as soon as you double clicked, it created this method called OK button underscore click. And this wiring took place. This is called the wiring, right? So you double clicked on it and empty template, empty procedure was given to you, an empty method. And that empty method was called OK button underscore click. That's what it does by virtue of how it is naming it. And because I removed that empty event handler, I have to also remove this line and I'll be okay. And now if you go back, you should be fine. So if you make a mistake, and a couple of you are doing it because you're just starting to do it, you double click on something and then because you double click on it, it creates an empty event handler and you don't remove it. I don't want to see untidy code. If you don't need it, remove it. So you have to be careful how to remove it. When you remove it from the design, you will have to go and remove it from the designer.cs line also. And the easy thing is, why even look for it? Go back to the design, it will show you an error. Click on it, it will take you to the line, remove it. So if you've done more than one, do it one by one. But if you understand the concept, that's all you're doing. You are removing the wiring, which automatically was created for you. Okay. Okay. So the OK button stops working. The form comes in the corner with show. If you have to kind of take care of it, change its settings, write your own OK button code, make it center screen, and you're fine. So I've shown you the difference between dialog and the show dialog and the show method. You know what it is now. Okay. And I've shown you how to create a context menu, but don't forget to link your context menu to your code. Otherwise it won't work. Like you can't just do it and leave it. You have to take this context menu and you have to link that. And how do you link it? Depending upon which control you want to link it to. Go to that control. I've come to my form, go to its properties, go to its context menu property and link it. Don't forget this. Otherwise the context menu will not show up. So basically if something is not showing up, I don't see it, I can give you marks. So when I say I need to see a context menu, you need to create one and you need to link it and link it with the control which I've asked for or whatever you want to link it to, depends upon. I've just done it with the form. But that form doesn't mean it is also linked to the text box. If I want to link to a text box, I'll have to go to this property and I'll have to go to its property context menu and I'll have to kind of bring it here and do it. So wherever you want to, but this was not for the text box. This was for the form. I just wanted to say about and exit. So about and exit are working, right? So we now know how to create a context menu also. Not tough at all. It's all there. How do I now create a normal menu? So to create a normal menu, you need the component called menu strip. Again, usually a form only has one menu strip. Like you never have more than one menu strips in a form. So again, menu strip 1 is good enough a name. It's not a bad name. Of course, you can change it if you like. You can call it form menu strip or whatever, like whatever you want. Now, how do I create it? As soon as I click on that menu strip, please notice there is a collection here which you could open and you can start adding here. This is one way of doing it. Again, this is my preference that I do it this way. It's not necessary that you do the same way. I prefer it to do this way because I can see as I type. It's right there. Okay, so let's create a menu. And I'll create a few items in my menu. I'm going to call them file. That's my first one. And notice what happens. As soon as I type file here and I make a return, I can either go right or I can go down. Down means that I'm now creating something under file. So this is my file and there is something under file. See? So this is a sub menu. So if you wanted to do that, you can click on file. You'll see there is a type here on the right and there is a type here at the bottom below it. The below one will come under below. If you put something here, so let's put something here. In file, I'm going to put calculate selection and I'll use the same key. This is too much. Like I'm doing the same. I have a button and I also have a menu item, but that doesn't mean you can't. I'm just showing you. And in the second one, I'll put a clear. So you have clear for next item here also. And L is the shorthand key. Again, you can use the same shorthand keys as long, and you should because it's the same functionality, as long as they are mutually exclusive. They are not coming together on the form. When you choose the menu, when you click on the menu, you want something from the menu. When the menu is off, you're not using it, then you're using the button. Okay, and do an enter. So under file, I'm putting, I don't know what is. Oh, so sorry. Oh, okay, just a wrong thing. Okay, we'll have to come back here. And now since I have to come back here, oh God, I just had the wrong sheet up. No big deal. This one is not calculate selection. This one is new order. I'm putting that in edit. Really doesn't matter, but just trying to do the same stuff I did with the other section. So it's not calculate selection, it's new order. And there is summary here. You haven't seen summary before. Have I used S for something? Doesn't really matter. Summary. And here, I'll show you something else. If you like, you can put type here. See, there is an arrow. If you like, you can put a separator here. You can actually put a menu item, which we are putting. You can put a combo box also, if you like. You can put a separator and you can put a text box. There are options here. You can even put a combo box or a text box. I am sticking to menu item and a separator today. So what will separator do? See what it will do. It will put a line, right? And then at the end, I'm putting an exit and X is the shorthand key. So it is an overkill that I have 3 exits now. I have an exit in the button. I have an exit button. I have an exit in the context menu, and I also have an exit in my menu. But that's okay. It's no big deal, right? Usually you will only have either buttons or menu items. But again, I'm just showing you everything. depending upon what kind of application. Okay, so as soon as I do this, this is ready. This menu is ready. So if you click on it, it will show you here. If you come here and you kind of look at what it called it, now the name is wrong because we started wrong. Now this is its only problem. Once it gives it a name, then if you change it, it doesn't change it. Anyway, we have to change it. I'm going to call it TSMI new order. TSMI for tool strip menu item. And summary, I'm going to call it summary. So since I made a mistake, I called them incorrectly to begin with. Now you have to change names yourself. And that's another, you could call it disadvantage it, but if you change names, it won't automatically change it here. It will give it the first name you gave it. And the exit one should be okay, but except that it's called EX, tool strip menu item. So TSMI exit. Now I wish I would have stuck with the other convention, but whatever. Now be careful. So when you are doing anything with menu items, use the other convention where you put the name at the end. Then you don't have to change these names, okay? But since this project was from last week, I have to change it. Okay, so my one menu is ready. Now, if you want to go to the right-hand side, go here. So just to show you now, if you, oops. Now, just to show you, for this menu item, if you go to collection here now, everything that you've added is also here. See, it says menu strip 1, and under menu strip 1, you have file tool strip menu item. And these are its properties. It again has a collection. Why? Because we just put 3 things in it. We put a TSMI new order, we put a TSMI summary, we put a tool strip separator. I don't want to change its name. Doesn't matter to me. And then I put a, I thought I changed its name. It's called exit tool strip menu item. So I can change this and I can change its name in its name property here. I don't know why it didn't change it. Maybe I didn't do an enter or something. Property value is not, oh. Can you tell me why is it saying property value is not valid? Yeah, I've also put it in TSMI context menu. Okay, so let's call it exit 1. What can I do? Can't do much about it. Can't use the same name. 2 variables cannot have the same name. Same concept. How can you do? So I've just called it exit 1, an odd name, but what to do? Okay, so you can come from here also. You can, and you can always add from here if you like. Again, I'll go back. I just find that easier. Okay, so my second item now is edit. Keeping with that edit at the head. Just copying some. They have, I don't know. I have taken E to be the shorthand key. You can choose whatever you want. And under edit, I have now here I have put the ones that we had because it's changing something. Calculate selection. So where you place menu items is kind of a little important because you're trying to say in file you don't. I mean, it's kind. If you've been using software programs for a while now, you know where to look for things because they're kind of related. So that's the same concept I am keeping. In edit, I'm saying things will change. So I'm putting calculate selection. The second one I'm putting is clear. L is the shorthand key. Again, choose whatever you like. I'm keeping it with my clear because it makes sense. In the third one, I'm going to put a separator. In my fourth one, I'll put a font. F is the shorthand key. And I'll put 3 dots after it. In a minute, I'll show you why. I've said and font and I've given it a text of 3 dots. What it means is when user clicks on font, a dialog box will come up. That's again a Windows convention. Right? So dot, 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 I'll show you in a minute. Dot, dot, dot means a new dialog box will come up. And what will this font allow me to do? It will allow me to change the font of my output. And I'll put a color here. And my shorthand key C is already used. L is already used. I'll make C as the shorthand, O as the shorthand key of color. Again, you can choose whatever you like. You can stick to the Canadian spelling of color or you can use the American color if you want, whatever you like. Okay, so oh, and I forgot to put my 3 dots. I'll tell you why these magic 3 dots. Now again, just because of our conventions, we'll have to go here. TSMI calculate selection. Calculate selection. TSMI clear. TSMI font. And TSMI color. Okay, and again, you could have done this from your sub menu item also, right? And I'm adding a third one now. So come here and go and write help. And under help, I'll say about here. I think A was our shorthand keys for about. I forget now. I'll have to double check. Can't remember. Whatever it is, I'm just making it an A as the shorthand key. Another thing I can show you with menu items. Come to exit. I'm doing this because I just thought of it. See under file, notice how exit has a shortcut key, right? Alt F4, you can also do this. Now the dot dot that I was telling you about, the dot dot that I was telling, oh, here we just saw it. Add Windows form, see how it has 3 dots and when I click on it, give it the same kind of feel and look like a Windows form. Therefore, I'm using the dots. Okay, so how to create the short key? If you come to exit, there should be a property called short. There it is, shortcut keys. So right now it doesn't have any. Of course, you want to show them, so it is true. So if you go to shortcut keys and open it, you can choose, what was it? Alt F4, I think, right?
Yes.
Alt F4. So again, I'm trying to give it the same that it has usually here. So you can do it like this. So you can create these shortcut keys also with your menu items. Again, try to give them the same shortcut keys that are available in Windows. Just keeping them. So if you do that, now it will show it here. Of course, if you say no, don't show it, it won't show it. But of course, we want to show it. Right? Now, with this exit, another simple thing that we can do. Please go to its events and change and link the button exit with it. Now that button exit name, if you find that name odd, we should have done it before now, but if you find that name odd because it's called button exit, you can change it to exit if you like. When you change it there, remember you also have to change it in the designer file in the link. You'll have to change it there also. So names can be changed because otherwise they don't make a lot of sense. So the button exit is the one that I've used. I've just used it, so I won't kind of change it now. Okay, but you can change it. But keep in mind, anything you change in your code is wired automatically to the event handler. So if you change names of your event handlers, see that you also change them in the designer, which is not a big deal. It's just a code, right? Okay, so I've kind of done with this. What do you want to do about new order? New order must exactly behave like what? New order was new order, click here, link it. Right? How summary we haven't yet written, so we can't do anything about it. What about edit? What should calculate selection behave as? The calculate selection button. So what was it called? There it is, button calculate. So now share your event handlers. What about clear? The button clear. So see that you make this links, otherwise they won't work. Font and color we still have to write. Okay. What about help? What should about behave as? About of your context menu. TSMI about click. There it is. So once you've put all these in the menu, link them with the right event handler. Right? Which means that if I go to start now, not all of them will work, but some of them will work. Okay, so if I try to do calculate selection, remember it should come up with those error messages. Quantity should be provided. Okay, guys, now a few things just because it has come up and I've been marking and I've been seeing things. The title must be short and sweet. The title is not a sentence. Your quantity is missing is not a title. Quantity missing is good enough. Your message is a sentence, but the title is not a sentence. Title it's a title. You give it short and sweet. And two, keep in mind that titles, every word starts with a capital letter. This is just what it is grammatically. Okay, I'm not telling you my preference. I'm telling you grammatically how titles are written. Okay, so keep it short and sweet. Tell it what it is. So quantity missing is a good enough. Your quantity is missing is not a good title. And then again, your messages should be grammatically correct, no spelling errors, and should make sense to me. Like I think you sometimes copy and paste, and I'm seeing errors with quantity missing in assignment 2. Name, it should say name missing and it's saying quantity missing because it was copied from somewhere. God knows, I don't know. Try catches. Oh, in try catch it says your quantity is missing because you've taken it from a classwork. Sure, copy and paste. It's your prerogative, but change it at least, guys. That's not an appropriate error message, right? So it's up to you, but these are small things. So you must provide the number of coffees is a normal English grammatically correct, no spelling error message. And that's what I'm expecting from you also. Sometimes you miss your title. Icon is not important, but something without a title bar kind of looks odd. Again, I was not so adamant about how I want to see. I'm leaving it to you. In the long run, believe it or not, when you become programmers, professional programmers are on job, you will learn all these things. You will have to learn all these things automatically. I have never seen a form without a title. Like, I don't know. Maybe you have. But you will, right? You will learn in your own good time. I'm only trying to tell you things just because I have learned it in my own good time. Right? That's why. Because as students, I was no good, no better. Like, you, that's how you are. When you go into the job and you do stuff, then you learn all these things. So why not take somebody's experience? Then you're a step ahead of where you should be. But again, it's up to you. Right? Okay. So it's working, right? And similarly, your clear should work. Font and color, we haven't done anything. About should work. I've linked it. So this should work. And it's again a modal one. See, I did a show dialog. And under file, what should work? New order should work, but of course, there's nothing new order. It will ask that question. Do you want to start a new order? So it is working. Right? So I've linked it. And then under new order, we also have a summary. Summary, we haven't done anything. Now, if you like, you can go exit. You can click on exit. You can do a Alt X because X is the shorthand key, or also you can do an Alt F4 and all three will work. So that was an Alt F4. Right? So is the menu clear? Any questions on how to create a menu and how to link event handlers? The only thing I would do, though, again, it's just me. I would, if I knew that I was going to change or share, I would remove the word button from here. As soon as you remove it from here, be careful that you have to remove it from all the statements where you've done the link. Right? So remove it first and then do the links. But if you remove it from here the first time itself, then you only have to make the change at one place. Just because it sounds odd. That's all. There's nothing wrong in the logic, but it just sounds odd. Like our names, as I said, we like to be called what we are called. We don't want to be called ABC. You know what I mean? Again, you don't want to be called by your student numbers. It will just be odd. It will be right, but I don't want to say, like, instead of Randeep, I don't want to say 2003 5689. Isn't it odd? Logically, he's the same person, but it's odd. So that's the whole concept of giving good names. Again, it's not required, but it's a good programming practice. Okay, we'll take a break here. We'll take a break of 20 minutes, come back and complete font, color, and all that. Okay. So let's move this to GitHub. So I've completed the UI. Yes.
I'll let you ask you if we're going to have any because I lost my glasses. I can't see
I doubt. Because I still have to do stuff. I may have the last 20 or half hour, but I don't want to start anything because it will never end.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't.
Okay. Is the code in GitHub?
I'm just putting it. Yeah, I've already put it. It's
okay, so check on that.
Okay.
I'll leave because I can't just sit here.
It's up to you. It's entirely up to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Oh, right. Are we going to have another in class later?
I was just saying that I don't know. It really depends on how fast or slow I go. The other section was not able to do it.
Okay.
So that tells me that maybe I'll just have to give it for home.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Sounds good. Because it's only the weekends half hour, and I wasn't sure if there was a complication.
If things happen, then you have to leave half hour early or something. And since you were in class, I can always give you the same time I give to the class, as long as I'm aware what's going on. Right? It's not that big issue. You're forgetting your name in your assignment submissions every time.
Add the comments on the top?
The file submission name, because that's what I download from Blackboard.
Oh.
So when it says submit your file and add your name to it, I mean add your name to the submission name.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean.
No.
Oh, so you're thinking the name. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
what, like,
No, it tells you the file must be called your name ICA1.zip. Because when I download it, they all come together, right? So if
Yeah.
I can't recognize the file, then it always takes me time to find out who you are, kind of stuff.
Sure.
It just is a little more
Okay.
time for me,
No,
which I don't
I'll
want to.
put my name in the top.
Yeah, so I did put a note this time, but assignment 3 is already in, so I don't know. But okay, so that's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Ah,
That's what I
okay.
thought.
Yeah, but it says.
That was
Yeah.
my other question.
Yes.
On the grading thing, it says assignment 1.
Yeah,
assignment
2,
3.
I'm marking 2. So while I mark it,
Yeah.
I don't show it to anybody because I only will show it when I'm marked everybody's.
Okay, yeah, because like the grade popped up here, but there was no
Silent.
assignment. So I was confused.
Yeah, I am marking 2, but I can't. I mean, otherwise students will say, oh, I've got it, and another will say, I haven't
Oh,
got
okay.
it. So to avoid that confusion, I close it,
I get it.
I mark it, and then when I'm done, I'll show it to everybody. So that will always happen. So that way you can know I'm marking it. And if you have seen your marks go up, you know how. I mean, you can always guess. Yeah. Yeah, I'm marking it. I'm almost there. So you guys are going 1 week behind schedule, but the exam will stay next week.
Okay, so
Right, yeah. I'll put up an announcement today. So the exam will stay next week because, I mean, I'll just not give the extra what I'll do with them.
So obviously it'll be like practical.
Yes, it will be just practical, same kind of concept. You'll be given a UI to create.
Yeah.
I won't give you the UI because, I mean, you've done both. So you'll be given a UI to create and some code with it. That's it. Something that can be done in 3 hours. No internet access will be allowed, but you can look at all your examples that you've done.
Single form, multiple form.
I'll try to do multiple, but not too much multiple because it's a 3-hour exam.
Yeah.
So if I do too much, then it's time restricted. But maybe something small,
Okay.
right? So something small code, like a mixture of what we've done in these 6 weeks, doable in 3 hours.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what I'm thinking.
So today's stuff is included as well.
Sorry, yes. Today's stuff will be included. The other section, what they'll do, definitely I won't include that. Yeah, everything till today will be included. I think it already says so on syllabus, right? In the syllabus, it says this is week 6. It's right. So Monday is the 16th.
That's the one. Do you know? Well, it's super good. Your brand. So I making fun of him. I was like, yeah, someone gets it. Yeah. I was going to study it yesterday, then let's just make it here. It's like, oh boy. Also, want to see American made. Yeah. They don't even make American stuff. Or yeah. So, well, according to the
Give it a good squeeze with your hand. When I'm removing the tea bag, there's still some in it, and I'll just squeeze. Get the last drop out of it. It's so untidy, but I don't want to throw it away. The actual color is in it still. If you squeeze it, you'll see the color coming out. I only take 1 cup. I think coffee is more disastrous than tea. One, it spoils your teeth completely. Coffee, it stains it so badly. Like I switched to coffee only once a day, not many. All my teeth were brown. Tea doesn't do that bad a job. It's okay. That also once a day. I only take 1. I take the leaf kind. Yeah, no, I take dark. No. I don't think so. My teeth are better. I've experimented. Coffee was, I didn't know it. Like, I was drinking it and then they all went brown, like, horrible. Sip it if you want to drink it. That does, you don't enjoy sipping coffee. You have to slurp it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Java?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we're making a GUI for our assignment, and well, what I've done is
The grid spinner doesn't look, the gate value doesn't look the right method.
no, I'm thinking
Pull a chair if you want.
I'm curious about this. Okay. So when I'm trying to, I don't know if it's here. When I come here, the error I get, I don't know.
Yeah, the
It always
problem is
says object. Over double.
incompatible types object cannot be converted to double.
Right.
Okay, so what it is saying is this. So this book object
Yeah.
requires 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the 5th type of parameter that the book requires? The constructor.
It's a double.
It's a double. Okay.
Yes.
And the get value method of your spinner does not return a double.
Okay.
Okay, so what it is saying is, okay, put a cast, say in brackets put doubles. So you're saying take the value of my price spinner and now convert it into a double and then pass it to the book object.
Can you repeat that one more time? You said, yeah.
So the constructor of the book class,
Yeah.
you said takes 5 parameters, so the last parameter is a double.
Right.
But this method, price spinner, whatever price spinner is, I don't know what price spinner
Just a
is.
spin. I wasn't sure what kind of field should.
Yeah, but
have
what
a
is a
double.
spinner? So I think,
Spinner just the up, down, like, you know, it'll be 0. And
oh,
up,
okay, okay, I
down
see.
arrow,
Okay, so
right?
when you get its value, what it returns is when you bring, if you go to this price, to this spinner class,
Yeah.
and you look at its get value method,
Mhm.
the get value returns an object type,
Oh, okay, that's what it was
right?
saying.
And it was
Okay.
expecting a double. So it was saying, I cannot convert an object type to a double type. So what I did, I casted it into it.
Oh, I think, okay, so maybe I'm not understanding. Casting is just.
Casting is just converting one type of object into another.
Okay,
So it returned, for example, it was returning an object type,
right.
right? So I converted into a double type.
Okay, so it's that saying instead of this being an object, it's a double?
It's a double type.
Oh, okay.
So the get value method, like I have never used a spinner class, but if you go to the spinner class and look at its get value method, I think that returns a different type. Maybe you're saying it's a spinner and you can go 1, 2, 3 and so on.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah,
yeah,
so if you kind of, what are we using, NetBeans?
yes.
So if I do a right click and I say show Java doc,
I was just using, I was trying to figure out what the errors are. I couldn't
okay.
understand.
So this get value is returning a value of type P and gets the value of the property value. The value property of spinner is a read-only property. So it's saying it's just of type T. It's not of type T. I have to read what this T is. I've never used this thing.
Okay.
So now I converted it into a.
Nice. Oh, thank you so much.
No problem.
Oh, that was
I mean, if
driving
that's
me
the, I
crazy.
mean, I've only seen what the problem here was, but I don't know if what you're doing is right or not, because I've
Right.
never used it,
For
okay?
sure. Thank you.
Okay, ready, guys? Are there another 5 minutes? I thought we were done. Who's missing? Couple of students are missing. I'll wait another couple of minutes and then we will start, okay? Okay, guys, let's start because I have a few things to complete, okay? Okay, now let's make this. So under file, my calculate select new order is already working. Summary I'll do at the end because it's the new thing that you're going to do today and will require a little more understanding, but the other ones are easy, right? Therefore, I'll complete the easy ones first. Okay, now under edit, you have a font and you have a color. Now what it allows you to do is, it allows you to change the font of the output. Usually that's what you will do, not of the, you could change of the input also, but usually you control the font and color of the output. Okay, so what you want to show as output. So to do that, we will require a font dialog box and a color dialog box, and they'll come under your dialog boxes. So get two components again, one, the color dialog box, and the other, the font dialog. You'll notice that they will come here in your component tray again. So now we don't have to kind of, I mean, these dialog boxes are already available. You use them all the time. Remember how if I have to change the font, I click on the ellipse and the font box comes up and I can choose whatever I want. So I can use the same in my code also. So get a font dialog and a color dialog component, two components in your component tree. And now what I want to do is this. Now go back to your edit and double click on font. So what do you want? I haven't put my comments, guys. Please bear with me. Okay, so we want to allow the user to change the font of the output. Okay, so please remember, I am not doing this, but in the long run, when asked in an assignment, you will do whatever it requires. So I'm putting my usual comments. Okay. And now change the font of the output. How? I will show the dialog box to the user. So students who are just coming in your form coffee shop in the design, get two, color dialog 1 and font dialog 1, two components in your component tray. Double click on font to get this event handler. Okay, my first job will be to show that font dialog on the screen. So how do you do that? We already know it. We take the font dialog 1. Where are you? Somewhere. There you are, font dialog 1. And you will use which method? Show dialog, because you want the user to respond to the screen. Okay? That's what you want to do. You want to show the dialog box. Now, remember, if you can, if you don't, for your information, there is an OK button and a cancel button on a font dialog box. Okay, you can do either. Really doesn't matter. Which means that you should always kind of will always save the font, the current font. I'll just save. So whatever is your current font, you can either set it in your design if you like, or you can just kind of assign it here. Even if the user says cancel, then basically nothing is done. The older font remains, whatever the default was. Now what do you want to do? If depending upon what the user has chosen from that font box, you want to save that font. And what kind of object is that? It's an object. So what do you want to do? You want to take your font dialog 1, and the method is it font? I think if I'm not mistaken, it is. I have to use the font. Give me 1 minute, please. I'm almost positive, but I don't want to then get an error, or maybe I don't have that notes. No, I think it's font. There it is. It's kind of the default. We'll take that. And now you want to do what? Change the font. I mean, I've already written allow the user to change the font. So I'm basically showing the dialog box. And then I'm kind of save the user options. Again, the user can do a cancel, which is okay. Okay, so what do? You have the output boxes are called, this is more. Okay, so subtotal and tax and total. Okay, so take your text boxes. And again, you can take this one, and it's how will you change the font? You will say 4-color text, 4-color property. No. Now I have my text boxes. I want to change the font of my text boxes. So shouldn't I by, isn't it a text property? No, it's not, which means because it's not coming up. That's one thing you can do. Oh, there it is. Okay, here, you just say font. Okay. Okay. So I'm just taking my output boxes. The other one was quantity. They're right there. So that's how this is easier to kind of work with this using 3-word abbreviations. Then the next text box was tax. Oh, I don't want to do the quantity. Quantity was input. Sorry, guys. I don't want to do the quantity because I don't want to change the quantity, only outputs. You could, but my comments don't say it, therefore. So I'll change the quantity to subtotal maybe. I think there was a field called subtotal. Control space bar. There it is. Control space bar completes it. Okay. And your last was total due. Let's see if it works. Simple. Font dialog box will come up. User options will be changed. If the user saves, if it's cancel, it's a cancel. It's okay. Nothing changes. And then we change the font of all 3 or all output boxes. That's what I've done. Let's see if it works. Right? Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so we'll go to edit. We'll change the font. Now again, it's a model 1. See, I have to respond to it. Now, if I do a cancel, nothing will happen. But if I change it to bold, I'm just changing it to bold because that's the most obvious one you can see, and do an OK. Now, keep in mind, the user may change the size to a bigger one also. Then your text boxes may be small. So they look untidy, but whatever it is, I'm sticking with bold. And now if I give a quantity of 1, cappuccino and calculate selection, that's bold. That's what it does. If you want to keep the previous one, then we will save the previous one also if you like to. Then you can check if the user said a cancel or not, right? But now if I do a cancel, the previous one stays. But if you want to keep the one that you kept in your design, the original one, the default one, the one that you had when you designed it, then if you need that, you have to then save it somewhere. And then if the user does cancel, you'll have to use that one. Like something like that. But this one, if the user says cancel, it will keep the previous one, not the original one. And if the user chooses something else, you can choose anything you want. Right? So easy. Show the font dialog box, choose the font, whatever. All 3 options are available. You can choose the type, you can choose the style, and you can choose the size. And once you do that, it will come up. If you do a cancel, the old one will remain. The previous one, I must say. Now, for whatever reason, if you want to save your default one, then you will have to kind of change this a little. You will have to keep, in the first instance, you have to save it. And then if it was a cancel and so on. I mean, it's not very important, but it can be done. It's just programmatically how you do it. What will you do with color? Very similar, right? So go to your design again. Oh, not this design, this design. Click on color. What does this do? Allows the user. Now here is a little kind of a silly thing you have to do just because, I don't know, they haven't changed. Like that's how it has been for years now. Okay. And same concept. We will show the dialog box. So I was going to copy it. I better just, it would be easier to write. Show the color dialog box. Right. How do you show it? It's called color dialog 1. And show dialog is the method. So now save the user's choice. And how will you do it? You can again take any object of type color. You can call it whatever you like or selected color, just so that when I speak it, there is a difference. You can call it color itself. And then do what? Take your color dialog box and use its color property to save the color. There it is. And now change the output. I shouldn't say allow the user, just change the color. This was a comment that had, okay, there it is. Okay, how do you do that? Same stuff, same concept. So take your 4 taxes or your 4 outputs. Bless you. Take your 4 outputs. Oh no, we can't use color here. We have to use 4 color or background color, right? Okay, now I want to show you something. Logically, it should work like font works, but see if it works. And then I'll tell you the trick to make it work. It's really a silly trick, but whatever it is. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work, for what reason, so that you're aware why we are doing this trick. Notice when I make my output boxes read only, how they become gray in color. It's a text box, but they change their color. This color is called control. Okay, the name of this color is a control color. Not control, I mean, it's just called control if you go under color. Now, if I try to cappuccino, change my color to red, and I do an OK, and I say calculate selection, nothing changes. You'll say, what? The color didn't change. Why didn't it work? The problem is of this background. This background doesn't allow it to do it. But a silly trick. Now, I'm calling it silly because it is really silly. So I'll write it here for you. But I'll show you another way also of doing it. So I'm just calling them redundant. Because they're just for the heck of it, redundant assignments. And these redundant assignments are, I'll take, well, let me write it. I'll just show you one, okay? Take this and change its back color, because the back color is what causes the problem. For your information, it is. And assign it back to it. Like, that's really silly. That's why it's called useless or redundant. You'll say, how will that do the trick? I have no idea. But it does the trick, right? Okay, so what did I do? I took the back color and put it back to the back color. That is a redundant assignment. It is useless. I've only done it for item amount to show you. Okay, let's run it. You'll have to do it for all your output boxes. Or there is another way of doing it, which I will, and you can choose whatever you like. I'll say choose my color. I'll go red. And I'll say 1 coffee. Works. But that's how it works, right? Now, the other option is, so what will you do? You will kind of take this statement for each one of them, for subtotal, for tax. You can take maybe this and make 4 copies of it, because there are 4, right? And then you can take your each one of them and it will work. Okay, I'll do 2 and wait for the other 2 for a minute because I want to show you the other trick. Okay, now the other trick is in your design of your farm coffee shop. So I think I've changed the first 2. I'll go to this one, tax, right? Look at what its color is by default. So go to its properties and then here, and then its back color, control, like I told you. That's what it says, control. If you go here and you change it from control to something else, gray but is not gray, I mean, that it's a hit and a trial, to be very truthful. But an easy thing that will work is if I go to custom and choose white. I know it works on white. I mean, you can do hit and trials. You like the gray background, sure, choose a gray or something. I'm just choosing white. You can choose whatever you like. I know it works. You can choose, I don't know what Gezin Bro is, but anyway, silver. There's a light gray here. Here. Kind of looks like control, but is not control, right? Okay, so I've just changed its back color from control to something else. I've made it custom. I'm not using the system when I made it custom, and I just made it gray to kind of match, though it doesn't match a lot. So choose the one that kind of matches. I don't know, maybe the gain. No, not too bad. Anyway, just to show you that it will do it. There is a white smoke. Okay, that white smoke is not bad. Okay, white definitely works. Okay, let's try it now. So I'm going to change the color. Okay, maybe make it 1 second. Okay, so let's do quantity as 2, cappuccino. Okay, so this and this, 4 and 4 are coming from that assignments that we did. And this is coming naturally now without the assignment because I changed its background color. This. There is no other solution. I don't know what logically there is. This is not logical, but that's how it is. Okay, so keep that in mind. So the control background will not show you the change in color. Change it to anything else, I think, and it should work. If you like white, some people like white, make it white. That's the safest. But white looks like it is an input box. So I prefer to put it gray. Again, that's my preference. Whatever is up to you. Right? So that's the trick. So choose whatever trick you want, but that's how the color will be changed. So now if you again do a color and you do a cancel, the previous color will stay. The previous color will stay. If you again want to put it back to black, then or whatever you like to the original or whatever, if it was yellow or whatever, then you'll have to write an if statement. So if the user said an okay, what do I want to do? If he did a cancel, what do I want to do? So that's just programmatically, right? It's not a big deal. That's an if else. So choose whatever. Again, as I said, this is just how it works. Okay. So I'll kind of leave 2 here. I'll leave both your options, but it's up to you. So I'll kind of complete it so that you'll say, why is she doing it again? I mean, she's doing it twice now. The logic, it's totally illogical, but still. And for this one, I didn't do it. I changed it for the tax I did. So now everything will work, whatever you like. And again, you can always work with cancel or yes if you want. You'll say, how I do that? You'll have to take a dialog result variable. We've done that with confirmation, yes or no in your new order button. Take a cancel, check what was the result. If it was an okay, choose it. If it was a cancel, then maybe go back to black or whatever you want. Right? Before you start, you can always, so I always kind of keep the original color. But it's only black for the first time. And then if the user changes it, it's the previous color, not the original color. That's color. Make sense? Okay, so color and font are done. Okay, now the most important one. Not the most important one, a different one. Notice there is a summary here. What I want to do in summary is, right now you're seeing one customer summary. A customer is buying coffees in different quantities, and you're seeing the item amount here, and you are seeing the subtotal of the same customer here. Now, suppose Tim Horton wants to keep a summary of all the customers. So as customers are coming in, and maybe per day, maybe per week, maybe per month, but some kind of summary for all customers. So at the end of the day or the week or the month, it says how many did I sell, or how many of these or how many coffees were sold, what was my revenue, kind of stuff. So now to keep summary information, there are 2 options. Of course, I can show the summary here itself, right? I can do it here, but in this one I won't, because I think you've already done it in your assignment number 3. You were showing summary information right on the form. I'm going to show you how to put summary on a different form. So now how do 2 forms talk to each other? The splash screen and the about form were also forms, but they were in no way related to the logic of the coffee form. Like they were just independent forms. One was coming before it and the other was coming when you did a click of about. But it was not drawing any information from your coffee. Now the calculations are done here in this code, the .cs file, and I want to transfer these calculations to another form. What are the options? Of course, I can share variables. I can make my variables public and I will say, oh, everybody can have access to that. Know that in object-oriented programming, or maybe in any programming, you should not make variables public. Data hiding is your first principle of OOPS. Hide your data from the outside world. And then provide an interface that allows you to kind of press buttons, methods that will say, oh, can I see this? Get 10 set methods. That concept, right? So I'll do the same now. So there are two ways, right? One, make them public, which of course is out. We won't do that. Private will not work. But what does work in C#? There is a protected also. You know from Java what protected is. Any class and any of its inherited classes can use that variable. Now, my summary form is not a subclass of coffee. It's just an independent form. So protected will also not work. But luckily, not luckily, I mean, it's just how it is. You have a fourth qualifier in C#. And so you're aware of private, we've used them. Public we haven't used, but public means can be used anywhere. Protected means it can be used in the class and any class that inherits from it. You'll say, what is inheritance? This is inheritance in C#. The form is inheriting from the form class. Okay, so if I was writing summary form and I said summary form is inheriting from form coffee shop, I was okay. But there's no relation. They're not inheritance. You could, but it's not the right relation. It will just be an independent form. So what I'll do is I'll use another qualifier. So you have public, you have private, you have protected, and you have internal. And there is an internal protected also. Qualifier in C# means that this variable can be used in the same assembly. An assembly in rough words is nothing but the compiled version of your project. So all forms in the same project can do it because they're all compiled together and their assembly is together. That is the assembly information I was showing you about when I went to properties. Remember I said the assembly name is the same as the name of the project, and it's not a big deal. If you kind of want to look at it again, here is the assembly information. The default namespace is this and the assembly name is this. So all the project, everything in this project coffee sales, when it is compiled, it is assembled into this and they have the same assembly name, which means internal will allow you to share variables amongst various forms in the same project. So private will not do. Public, I don't want you to do it. Protected will not work for us. But internal will work for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare internal variables for my summary information, and they will be of type decimal, and I'll call them grand total. And you can call it grand total amount, doesn't really matter, and average. I'll create another internal integer variable. So how many customers were kind of taken care of today or serviced today or in a week or whatever. So I'm also going to keep a customer amount. So So one is a decimal and one is an int. Int and decimal, you can replace them by int 16 and decimal, I don't know what its structure name is. So if you want to go that route, sure. Remember I told you last week that these are coming from structured names and you can interchangeably, instead of int, you can use capital int 16 for a normal int. Or 32, I think. Short for is in 16. Look up. This is just easier. Now, that's all you have to do, and you can share them. In addition, you can also, if you like, and it will be helpful for us because it's easier, I can add static to it. And static has the same functionality as in Java. Now I can use grand total amount with the class name, form coffee shop dot grand total amount. You'll say, if it was not static then I would have to create an object of type form coffee shop in my summary shop and say object dot name of the variable. That's too much work. It's not required. Right? It's not required. I could do it. I'll show you both ways, but this is a better way of doing it. Now I can use my grand total amount by using the class name dot the name of the variable. Otherwise, I can't. Then I'll have to do something else. I'll show it with customer count for you and then we'll change it. Okay, so I'll leave one like this and the other like that. So static means it is a class variable. You should be using it with the class name. Okay, my variables are ready. Now comes its manipulation. Where am I going to take care of it? Okay, so where on your form, logically, where on your form should your summary information be kind of accumulated from one order to the next, Which button or control is where you should put it? Perfect, in new order. Because every time you do a new order, the old customer is going away. That total has to be added to the grand total, and that to the grand total, and so on. So please come to your new order button, click. Right, and this is where we will add the math. Asking the user, are you okay? Do you want to change your order, and say, and so on and so forth. And if the user says confirm yes, I mean, I can put it wherever. I'm just putting it here because it's at the top. So I'm going to accumulate the summary information. Right, so we have to accumulate it. So now comes a few things. The user may order button anytime. Like who says, oh, I'm finishing my order, now I'll click on it. Therefore, we always ask, are you sure you want to kind of do a new order? So before even I say, oh, he must have done it the right way, he's finished his order and so on, I've already shown him yes or no. But did he make an order, or maybe you just pressed it without anything? Okay, so I'm going to check. And how can I check it? Again, it's not necessary, but it's useful. So I'm going to check if the total amount is greater than 0, that means definitely some order was placed. Greater than 0 means an order was placed. Something is done. So what will I do? I'll increment my customer count up by 1. So you may not choose anything, and then you may just say new order. Doesn't stop it. You can do it. Nothing stops you from doing it. Right? So I can always do this. So I'm kind of taking care that I take care of all my silly customers. So for the first time it's out, but I can always do this. And I can say, I'll just go the right way. If I say new order, it should be accumulated. But I'll say yes. Oh, you know what? I don't have to care about it. I'm again graying it out. I've already taken care of that. As soon as I do a new order, before the user, it's grayed out. So I'm okay. It's not, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I don't have to. Logically, I don't have to. My interface is taking care of it. I did a good job before I wrote the code. So I don't have to worry. So this is redundant in my case, but I'll put it here so that you kind of think, why did she do it? Right, so we'll say if there is an order. But you know what? We are okay. We gray it out, so we are fine. So that if is redundant. So increment your customer count up by 1. Take your grand total amount. Oh, there is a grand total also. Oops. Where did we use that? Have we used that before?
No.
Okay, so we'll remove that again. Okay. I mean, use whatever you like. It really doesn't matter. So I'll stick to grand total amount just because I've made it internal. I'll take my grand total amount and add it to the previous grand total amount, and I'll add total amount. That this must have an initial value. Whenever you have a plus equal to, I'm using the old value. That means this should have an initial value. And you say, where is the initial value? Remember, what did we say? Anything that is declared at module level has an initial value of 0. And if you really want to be sure, though you don't have to, like it's done, the default is 0. So please I'll remove my total amount, grand total from here. It's just confusing to me. I don't know why I did it last week. Must be for some reason. I can't remember now. Customer count needn't be initialized to anything. Even it is being initialized to 0. It is because it's also saying increment up by 1. So keep in mind that the default values are 0 for numbers and null for objects. So I didn't give it a 0, but it has a 0. Okay, so let's come back to button click. Oh, before I forget this also. Anywhere you see a new button, new order, also go, what was it? TSMI. Where are you, TMSI? Was there a new order in TSMI? There it is. Please see that you enable it also. Give it the same value that you've done here. Because remember, we've added it to our menu also. And button clear, there was a TSMI clear. TSMI clear. There it is. Of course, if we had started from scratch, we would have taken care of this before. But anywhere you see button clear or button new order, please now remember they have partners. So we'll have to kind of give the same values to it their enables. Okay. Okay. So now come to trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. And where were we? We were in the button click. Oh, it's just easy to maybe come from here. Okay. I saw it, so I did it. So wherever you see it, we'll do it. Okay, so here is that I've accumulated my summary information. It's redundant in my case, but we'll kind of let it go. Oh, I see it here. Here. Okay, do it here. TSMI here dot enabled is equal. We want it to behave as the same way as the buttons are behaving. And new order dot enabled is false, because I duplicated them. That's why I said it was an overkill. Okay, we are all good here. We are all good here. Okay, anywhere else? No. Okay. Now, do I need to reset my grand total amount? No. Because I want to set it back to 0. Yes, for my total amount I had to, for this I had to, but not for here. And something that I forgot here, which you should always do, because now I'm seeing it in your assignments. So I think I've already done it in my clear input. Yep, I've already done it. Okay, so take care that you add this to your new order button. So accumulate your totals. Do in new orders? I don't think so. Average we will have to calculate. Average, when I say I need to see the summary, there is where I'll calculate it, because average is the average of the everything. Okay, so when I click on summary, I'll do that, which brings us back to, I'm just seeing if I've left out anything. In click, I don't need anything. Color, I don't need anything. TSM about, I don't need anything. Font, I don't need anything. Clear input. Quantity, item amount, don't need anything. Button, nothing. Load, here it is. Okay, so button clear, TSMI clear. We need this one also. So let's do this now, just because it's. Because we didn't think of it before, that's why we have to do this. But anyway, it's just a different chapter or a different learning. There it is. Okay, load is done. Okay, good. Now, so I'm accumulating my totals, but my average still remains. But that average hasn't to be calculated every time. The average only needs to be calculated when I need to show my summary, because it's the average. But before I can show it, let me now create a new Windows form. It's just a normal Windows form. Please call it form summary. Or whatever naming convention you're using. Okay, so I'll need something like this. I'll just show you because I have it ready. So I need 3 lines and so on. So something like this should be good enough. Yeah, not bad. Okay, we'll do the usual that we do with our forms. Do the usual. Please change its text first. Let's call it summary information. So change its text property. Change its start. You can say center parent or center screen. Summary is a parent of, I think it should work. Try center parent, I'm not sure. You will call summary from here. Should work. Center parent. What else? Form border style. Fix 3D or single, whatever you like. What else? What do we change? Oh, maximize box. Make it false. Okay, looks okay now? That's our start. We always do that to kind of begin with. Okay, now let's complete it. The usual. Take a label for the heading, a label for your name. We'll say, yeah, many of you did that. I said, give me a heading for your assignment too. You copied my title. And next time I should just say give me the title and the heading. Okay. Oh, of course you can if you like, and you should actually. You should always change the font and make it bold, make it a bigger size, do it an OK, take it in the middle and put it in the center horizontal. Okay, there it is, sales summary information. Take your label 2. That's your name. You can change its font if you like. I usually keep it bold oblique, but it's again my preference. And please ensure that I can see your name on the form. Sometimes the name is out of the form. Any guesses at all? Okay, so I need to show three outputs. So I'll take 3 labels and they're all in the middle or whatever. For now, I'm just kind of going like this. You can give them auto size if you like. So remember, I can always kind of start it together. I can say auto size is false. You can always, that way when you put your text, you can say align it to the center to the right or bottom to the right. You can go like this. So everything will be aligned like this. It looks neater. It's up to you. Like I'm just making it, or you can say I want to align it in the middle. Right? And then that way, if I type something now, if I type something here, then they kind of look okay. So I'm going to put number of customers serviced. Again, headings and subheadings, every word is capitalized except, oh, sizes are small. Of course, sizes are small. I should have thought about it. I'm not doing a good job with my mouse today. Again, for headings and subheadings, every word is capitalized. It's just grammatically how it is. Except if you have prepositions like of, for, the, you can leave them alone. But every word is capitalized. Okay, so that's number of customers serviced and they don't look very neat, but I'll change it. Total sales amount. I'll make it darker, okay? Your subheadings must be a little different from headings, but you should be able to read it. And here is average sales amount. Again, by making them the same size and doing a right align, they look neater. You can take all 3 and say make vertical spacing equal. Where are you vertical spacing? Align centers, align middles, make horizontal spacing equal, make vertical spacing equal. There. So they'll appear on the same thing. Okay, now take 3 text boxes just because text boxes are easy to clear. Otherwise, you could have used labels, doesn't even matter. But I'm using text boxes just for the reason that I don't have to, they're easy to work with. And place them somewhere here, somewhere here, and here. And these are amounts. So I don't know, a little bigger maybe, nothing else. I think I'm good with this. Okay, so let's do the, we'll make it tab stop as false because these are read-only boxes. These are for output. I don't have to give it a border and so on. Therefore, I use text boxes and they're read-only. And their tab stop properties false. So these are my output boxes. Okay, now you can always take the whole thing and say center horizontally. Right? It takes a minute. But if the form is not neat, I can see it, guys. I can see it. Even if the heading is 2 points away, I can see it. And you can too if you pay a little more attention. So how long? You just have to make it neat. That's all. Okay. So now again, if you want to, you can take these 3 and just make them bold just because they are subheadings. You can leave their size alone. You can make them a little bold and they'll like, oops, and they'll look darker. Okay. Okay. My summary form is ready. Summary form should have a OK button. How will I close it? You can put an OK in the middle or whatever you like. We'll give it a button OK. We'll put OK on it. You can make whatever as the shorthand key if you like. And it seems smaller because I can't see the, if you can't see the shorthand key, that means the size is not good. Just increase it in size. Okay, so let's start with an OK because that's the easiest to do. What do we want to do? We want to close the form. Not the application. So here you can't say application.exit. So see, here is a place where you can do an application.exit. You should say this dot close. What happened?
Get the summary, then
The whole thing is closed. So now you know the difference. In when you were doing one form applications, dot close, or you could say application dot exit. It didn't make a difference. Now it makes a difference. Don't do an application dot exit. Summary shown, gone. Okay, so the OK button was easy. Now comes the rest. What do you want to do in load? I must have double clicked on load. I could do it in load or here. And again, if I do something here by chance, I remove it from here. I go back to my design. It will give me an error. I go here. I remove the wiring. And I'm done. I'm OK now. I can come back here. I'm OK, right? So now I want to show information from in my summary form. That's what I want to do. OK. And so when the user clicks the summary button there, I need to calculate the average and then I need to show it here. So let's do it step by step. Okay, so let me complete one form at a time so that I don't mess up what I need to do. Loading is done, everything is done. To answer your question, Daniel, about the summary. Summary. Oops, no, not you. Summary, here you are. Okay. Click on the summary. Double click on it. Okay, so what is this method doing? It basically calculates the average. Here is where I'll calculate it. Okay. What do you think? No, I should do it here. Yep, calculates the average and then shows the summary box and so on. If any, it may happen that there is no summary information to show. I just click on summary and not even a single customer has been yet serviced. Okay, so again, you could gray it out when the form is loaded, only make it and enable it only when one event is done. I'll write it because my interface, I haven't taken care of it in interface. I'll take care of it here, right? The previous one was kind of useless because I had already taken care of it, but doesn't matter. Okay, now situations I have to think of. Maybe no customers were serviced, 0. So I have to take care of that too. I can't calculate average without that. 2, it may also happen that the user is placing an order and he did not click the new order button. So what do I do with it? So you're in the middle of an order. Do you want to include it in the summary or don't you want to include it in the summary? What do you want to do? So what I can do is I can always say, okay, so whenever the user presses the summary button, I confirm from him. Do you want to start a new order? Remember that was coming up. If he says yes, then it will be included. If he says no, it will not be included. Right? So I leave it to the customer to tell me, does he or she want, not the customer, basically the person behind the counter, do you want to include it or not? It's not the customer, it's the user of the application. Okay, so how will we do that? So if the total amount, this is handy here. So instead of kind of making changes in is not equal to 0. So that means, or you can say greater than, not equal to 0, that means, or greater than 0 will also do. Both will work, right? So if the user is in the middle of the order and I'm not sure, but that was what was clicked by the, I'll just double check. I'll say, okay, are you sure? So I'll call that button order. There it is. I'll call that method. I leave it to the person who's doing it to say, what do you want to do? So I give him or her the option, whoever is seeing the summary information. So if he says yes, they're in the middle of the order, like nobody will do that, but I'm just taking care of everything. Summary is usually seen at the end of the day, but who knows? Manager walks into Tim Hortons and says, what's going on? A customer is being serviced and can I see the summary information? Silly, but anyway, there it is. So if the total amount is not equal to 0, I'll kind of confirm from the user whatever you have to do. Now, before I show the information, so I'll take the customer count. And if that customer count is greater than 0, I have summary information to show. Else, it's not that I'll leave the poor person in mid-air. I'll say, I'll put a message box saying there is no information to show. So here the message box will do because no sense going. So, okay, so what is the first one? The text. The text is not the title. So what do I want to show? You can create your own message if you like, but I just want to say something like no customer serviced yet, something like this. Anything that makes sense. Okay, again, grammatically correct. No spelling errors. Okay, so no summary information and what? Now the title. Title of your dialog box. Again, you can, if you like, show the OK button because that's the only button. But my aim is, why I have to do this? Because I want to show an icon. Okay, so if there is no information to show, I'll show a message box on the screen and say there is no information to show. Never leave the poor user in happening. Is something happening? Am I waiting for something or is something wrong? So that message will come up if nothing happens here. Now, if the customer count is greater than 0, that means now I can calculate my average. So I'll take that average that I took and I'll take that grand total and divide by the customer count. That's how you find the average. Right now, I want to create an object of that form summary. What do you like? I leave it to you. You can do a show. You can do a show dialog. It's not a different thing at all here. So we'll take our summary form. There you are, and use the show or the show dialog method. Again, this is where I calculate the average, because you don't calculate average with every new order. Doesn't make sense. You could do it, but it's not the right place to do it. Why are you calculating average every time? Because the average is only total of everything over total of customers. So doing there is not wrong, but it is not entirely correct, because you're doing unnecessary average every time. You only want to see average when you need a summary information. So don't do it. That's what is called redundant programming. That's not efficient. So again, it's not wrong, but it's not efficient. And I've always emphasized on efficient programs. Okay. So that's taken care of. Now, the only thing is, how do I show this information in my summary form? So the form comes up, it shows, but where is the information? So nothing will come up yet. So this seems to be complete. We can always come back if we've missed something. Now let's go to your summary form, and where would you like to put it? You can put it right in your constructor or in the load, both. Right, okay. Right, you can put it either in your constructor or in your load. Both are good, really doesn't matter. But now I want to do, so you can put it right here if you like. Here is a component right in your constructor, or you can put it in your load method. Both will work. Because what is load method? Load method is when the form is loaded. So wherever you want to put it, really doesn't matter. So if you wanted to do it in load, all I'll do is I'll double click on the form and the load method will come up. If I want to do it here, that's how I do it. Now to show you, I have 3 boxes whose names I haven't changed. So please change them. Here, go to your first text box, call it TXT customer count. Makes sense? Second one, total. Let's call it grand total. That way, at least you know what I'm trying to give it the same name I've given there. Then I know what I have to use. Grand total amount, I think we called it there. It won't matter. It's just a text box. And this one is text average. There. So I have 3 text boxes: text customer count, text grand total amount, and then text average. I want to fill them up with data. That's what you have to do. So as I said, you can choose. You can put it in the load method if you like. You can put it right in the constructor. If it was load, you will double click on it. If it is in the constructor, you do it right there. Okay, so what do you want to do? Let's populate the summary information. So your first one, the text one, it's not necessary to go by here, but I'll show you what happens. Now, there was an internal variable there called customer count, right? Let's try that. I don't even see it, right? But why? Because it's an internal variable, good, but I have to use that form name to use it here. And it's not a static variable. So see what I'll have to do, which I want to avoid, and I won't do it, but I just want to show you what I'll have to do. I'll have to create an object of your form coffee shop here, just for the heck of it. I'm just calling it CS, right? This is more work. And now with this object, CS dot, now it will show me the customer count. There it is. It's you have declared it in that form. So to use it, you still have to use the form name. Whereas, so I'll do it this way for you, and then you will yourself kind of see the use of the other one. Oh, it is an integer, so we'll have to convert it into a string. And it's just a number. So no currency signs, nothing. It's a number, okay? Don't forget, you put C for currency. You can use D for integer. If you want to exactly show it in 2 digits, you can say D3 for 3 digits, 005, then it will give you 3 digits. You can try that. It's not a big deal. So even if there is one customer, it will say it as 0. I think it's a D3. Doesn't like the D. I'm almost positive it's a D. I could be wrong. What's for integers? I? No, I don't think so. Okay, I'll have to look up. I know the F is F. I can't remember the D. Okay, now look at the other ones. Your grand total. Now, since that's a static variable, I can go form coffee shop dot grand total, and much easier. And there is nothing wrong in it. The main emphasis is it's not wrong. Because look at the extra work. I had to create a form coffee shop and then I can use it with, what isn't it like? Okay, it says it may cause a runtime exception because it is a field of a Marshall by reference class. Oh my God. So it's giving me more potential fixes, which I don't know, which means I have to pay more attention to it. But nothing, it didn't fix anything. So I'll have to go and read about it. What does it mean by Marshall by reference class and so on? So this is, it's fine. It's a warning. It's not an error, but there is something and I have to pay attention to warnings also. So instead of doing this extra work, which is useless, I don't need to. So the easy, not the easier, even the correct way would be, and that's what I was trying to show you. The correct way would be to make it a class variable here. And how do you make something a class variable? All you do is put static in front of it. Now, when it is static, what can I do? I just have to use it with the class name. So do you see now the use of static keyword? It's with the class name, and it's easier to use, and there's nothing wrong with it. The main thing is there is nothing wrong with it. So where was I? So now I don't have to do this at all. Now it's giving me an error. So why can't I do this? Because it's a class variable. There. So it's much easier. That's why I chose them to make static. So there was nothing wrong in what I was doing, but it was useless. So why do it? I like efficiency, but that was not efficient at all. And your third box was your average. Take your average box, take its text, and from your form coffee shop again, get your average variable, convert it into a string. And now average, I'll show you how we can do average. If I'm not mistaken, I think you can say F2. Remember, averages can always be, it doesn't like it. Okay, I've forgotten my C# then. Oh, I know what I've forgotten. Oh, double quotes. That's what I've forgotten. 2 places after decimal, F2. Okay, that's why it was not working. I think that's a D2. So do you want to try the D now? Okay, so D3. I'm just doing D3. I'm hoping it will work. So 3 means give me 3 places. So even if there is one customer, it will say 001 or 002. I think that's what D3 does. F2, I think, will put 2 places after decimal. And why do you want to show 2 places after decimal? Because, oh, but this is currency. Oh, I should use C, but I'll show you all 3 just for the heck of it. And then we'll change it back to currency. Okay, but F2 will show 2 places after decimal, will not show the currency sign. This automatically shows the currency sign and 2 places after decimal. So definitely for our purpose, this is better, but okay, let's try. Let's give it a try. If logically we haven't made any mistake, if logically we haven't made any mistake, so 1 cappuccino, right? So if I see a summary now, summary was in edit, no, in file. Are you sure? Now see, I was in the middle of an order. So it's saying, do you want to include this or no? If I say no, customer service, because before this there was nobody, right? And that looks fine. Now I'll again try it, new order, I'll say yes. So I have one customer. Did I do a show dialogue there after asking that question? Why do I have to press?
Because the customer count is 0.
No, but after when it says new order, oh, I'm only asking yes or no. Okay, okay, right? Okay, so this is D3. Do you see 001 is D3? So show me it in 3 places. This is F2, 2.00. And that's currency, $2.00. You have,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
When you do the F2 for the 2 decimal places, can you include the currency as well?
no, then I'll have to type it myself, like a text. I'll have to put it in double quotes,
Oh,
dollar.
yeah.
Yeah. So the currency does that job for me. But at least you've seen F now, right? So if you need to use it, you know F, you know D. Percentage is also available. Okay. So now that we change it, I want to, I'm kind of, what did I do in summary? So here I'll do a C back because that's much good. I mean, better. I don't need to do a D3. 1 should show as 1, 2 as 2, 3 as 3, 25 as 25. So you don't need a D, but just so that you know that it is available. But with the,
I think it's because you have 2 different if statements.
do I'm just trying to see if the user says yes,
Then you exit out of that if statement.
or do I? Let me see.
Pretty sure.
Where am I? Have lost my count. Okay, so if the total amount is not equal to 0, but the button new order click is incrementing the customer count by 1. We did that, right? So now it is greater than 0. So it should, or it's just, yeah, it should show this. It's not showing it. I do didn't we say customer count goes up by 0? So if total amount is not greater than 0, you click this button. It goes to the button order click, and I'm sure we have to. We do a customer count. When we increment the customer count and it comes back here, this should work. The summary box should show up on its own. Why is it not showing up? Logically, right? Total amount is not equal to 0 means there is something. I mean, I can use a greater than 0, but that's not a big deal at all. But that's not going to change the logic. It just looks better that this is not happening.
Customer is greater than or equal to 0.
If customer count is greater than equal to 0?
Greater or equal to 0.
But I don't want to show it equal to 0 because division by 0 will give me a numeric exception.
I'll put mine is greater than or equal to 0 and show up.
But that's really strange, isn't it? Logically, I mean, I shouldn't be doing equal to 0 because that's what I was trying to avoid.
Because when you click on the button, before you click on yes, your customer count is at 0. So that's why because when you click on the button, then.
Yeah, but when you click on the button, it goes to the button event handler and it does everything.
Yeah,
and then it comes back.
But it's running the function first.
No, then it comes back. After finishing the whole function, it comes back. Whole method, event handler.
Well, but mine worked actually for both ways.
You can use the debugger.
Yeah, to debug. That's exactly what I was saying. I should debug it, right? Because logically it looks okay.
Yeah, mine works. If I do it greater than 0. Greater than 0.
It is working greater than 0? Okay, so cappuccino. I'm in the middle of an order. Oh, I have to do this. So I don't do a new. Okay, new order. Go to file. Go to summary. Are you sure you want to place a new order? Yes. Oh, I did. Did I do a no last time?
No. If you don't click on the calculate, then it won't because you don't have any.
Oh, because my total amount is not greater than 0. Oh, how silly is that? Yeah, of course. Right. Okay, so this is what was happening. Let me double check. The K is looking odd. Okay, so if I say now I have summary information. Now let's see if that logic is right. If that logic is right. So if I say, oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think I know, but is it right? So if I say this, the person hasn't, if you haven't done a calculate selection yet, new order yet. I can only press on it after I do a calculate selection. I can't do a new order. And the new order is not even here. So what did I do last time that didn't?
I don't think you hit calculate selection.
But then how was I able to hit an, oh, maybe I was hitting, no, I don't know. But the only way the new order comes up is after I do a calculate selection.
Yeah, so run the whole form again and put in quantity and cappuccino, but don't click on calculate selection,
And then
try and do the summary information.
then it will say 0 for sure.
Then it's 0 across the board because you haven't
Yeah.
calculated.
Calculated anything. Okay. Okay. I see. I didn't know there. I get it. Okay. Anything else? I mean, the rest of course should work. So I don't know how many we did. Let's do a calculate selection. Let's do a new order. Yes. Now we go to summary. Now this is only check one. So $1 and $2. Okay. So let's try to do another 2 cappuccinos. That's a $6. 4 and 2 is a 6. 6 divided 2 customers is a 3. Yep, math is right. Right, so just double checking that the math is right. So I did a cappuccino, then 2 cappuccinos. Customers were 2. We are not saying number of coffees. We are doing number of customers. It depends what you want to do. I did a number of customers. Okay, not number of coffees. I mean, that is much more to do because coffees are not of the same type. So how can you say average coffee? So I've just said average per customer average. So number of customer service 2. Total sales amount is $6 and average sales amount is $3. So it is per customer because here it says number of customer service. You can always make it more clear. Right? And if I do an OK, this should close and this should stay. Of course, I cannot say application.exit. I cannot. Now, when on this exit, you can say application.exit. Okay. So I think anything that we've left, we've taken care of everything, I think. I am almost positive we've taken care of everything. The only thing that's looking a little odd, I mean, it's not you, it's just me, it irritates me. I'll just make my K capital. And there it is, right? So we've learned how to create multiple forms. 2 were kind of simple, splash and whatever with a timer. That was again new. About was using the assembly information. Not the more important thing. An important thing that you learned was how to share variables amongst different forms. And the best way for now is to use internal. There is an internal and there is an internal protected also. The internal protected becomes more conservative. It's in the same assembly, but only under inheritance. Okay. And then you have public and you have private and you have protected. So you've learned 5. Now you know 5 access specifiers in C#. And all I did was create a form, and how you create it, then you show it. You can use a show method or a show dialog method. And in the form, I kind of populated it and I made my variables static so that I didn't have to go through that extra work of creating an object and calling it. And I was getting a warning, which I'll look up. Like, I don't know out of the blue what it said. It was talking about something that I hadn't seen before. So I'll have to look up and say, why is it saying what it is saying? So it was a warning, but again, always pay attention to warnings also. So maybe it was trying to tell me something about, it was saying something about exception. So I have to look it up. I really don't know what it meant. So I'll do that afterwards and double check and do it for you. Any questions for me? Any questions? So we've completed the code and we've completed the UI. And of course, as you see, we don't have time for an in-class, but which means, I don't know. I still see a 1 here. What is this one? One unpushed commit? I just did it. Oh, no, I'm in a hurry, right? Don't even give it a second to do something. Okay, there. That takes care. So till date, what you've done till date today is included in your exam next week. Okay. So there's nothing to kind of, like if you've done your assignments, if you've paid attention or you know what's going on, I think you don't have to necessarily prep anything specially for it. You've already done 3 assignments. I'm marking 2. For the 3rd one, I definitely will mark it in class because I don't have to check anything except your calculations, the 3 error boxes and so on. Right? I'm almost done too, so I don't even know who I've checked and I haven't, though I kind of know. So I'll do 3 with you. When you're doing your exam, maybe I'll come and sneak a peek and check your assignment 3. So keep your assignment 3 ready for me next week. So we'll meet in a regular time, regular class, 3-hour exam, all hands-on. Okay. Okay, so that's all on GitHub. Any questions? Anything that's not clear? Yeah, the debugger would be a good. Definitely, we have you have to learn how to use a debugger because debugger is your best friend when things don't work. It's very powerful here. I haven't used it for a while just because I haven't written big applications for a while. But it's very handy when you use. And they have added something new in the debugger for 2017 that reminds me. I can't remember what it was. I can't. But they have improved the debugger by something. So one was this new lines that they had put. This is new in 2017 that they're putting it in black. You can see where it ends, though you can always do this and you were able to see it, but that's what's new. And then something in the debugger also. And one more in the exception handling. Those new three things are in 2017. Okay, so that's done for today. Thank you for your patience, guys. I think I've covered everything because I forget myself, except comments, right? It's always a good idea to be sure, but whatever it is. Okay, anything that you need to ask, or we can call it a day?